My stepdaughter had me sent to jail for sabotaging her party. She didn't expect what came next. The police came to my house at 6 a.m., pounding on the door, waking the entire neighborhood. "Mrs. Anderson, you need to come with us." "What? Why?" "You're being charged with criminal mischief and destruction of property. Your stepdaughter filed a complaint." I stood there in my pajamas, confused. Destroyed property? Criminal mischief? What was he talking about? There must be a mistake. "Ma'am, we need you to come to the station. Now." They didn't handcuff me, but they put me in the back of a police car while my neighbors watched. Drove me downtown, booked me, fingerprinted me, put me in a cell, all because my stepdaughter Melissa claimed I'd sabotaged her engagement party. Deliberately, maliciously, criminally. It was a lie. A complete lie. But by the time the truth came out, my life had been destroyed. And Melissa? She learned that false accusations have consequences. Serious, life-altering consequences she never expected. My name is Laura Anderson. I'm 48 years old. I've been married to David for 10 years. I've been Melissa's stepmother since she was 15. And 2 months ago, she had me arrested, put in jail, charged with crimes I didn't commit. What happened next? She lost everything. Her fiancé, her job, her reputation, her relationship with her father. All because she thought she could destroy me without consequences. This is the story of a false accusation, a legal nightmare, and justice that came from the most unexpected place. Let me start at the beginning, so you understand exactly what Melissa did, and why karma hit her harder than she ever imagined. I met David 11 years ago. He was a widower. His wife Rachel had died in a car accident 3 years earlier. He had one daughter, Melissa, who was 14 at the time. David and I connected through work. We were both in real estate. Started as colleagues, became friends, eventually started dating. When I met Melissa at 15, she was polite but distant. Still grieving her mother. Still adjusting to life without her. "I'm not trying to replace your mom," I told her that first meeting. "I just care about your dad and want to get to know you." Melissa nodded. Didn't say much. Made it clear she was evaluating me. Over the next year, as David and I got serious, Melissa remained distant. Not hostile, but not welcoming. Just neutral. We got married when Melissa was 16. She attended the wedding but didn't participate. Sat in the audience with a blank expression. After the marriage, Melissa lived with us part-time, alternating between our house and her maternal grandparents' house, where she'd spent a lot of time after Rachel died. When she was with us, she was polite, followed house rules, did her chores. But emotionally, she kept me at arm's length. I tried to connect, asked about school, her interests, her life, got minimal responses. She talked to David for hours but barely spoke to me beyond necessary pleasantries. "She's still grieving," David said. "Give her time." I gave her time. Years of it. Melissa graduated high school, went to college, visited occasionally but never stayed long. Our relationship never progressed beyond polite distance. After college, Melissa got a job in marketing, started dating a guy named Trevor, got engaged at 24. David was thrilled. My little girl's getting married. Melissa and Trevor started planning their wedding. Big event, 300 guests, country club venue, expensive everything. David offered to contribute financially. "Whatever you need, sweetheart. I want your wedding to be perfect." "Thanks, Dad. That means everything." She never asked me for help, never included me in planning. I was David's wife, invited to the wedding, but not part of the process. Fine. I'd accepted years ago that Melissa and I would never be close. I could attend as a guest and be happy for her. 3 months before the wedding, Melissa decided to throw an engagement party. Something smaller before the big day. Just family and close friends. About 50 people. David was excited. "Where are you having it?" I was thinking, could we have it at your house? The backyard is perfect, and it would mean a lot to celebrate where I grew up. David looked at me. "What do you think?" I hesitated. Hosting 50 people was a big undertaking, but I didn't want to be the stepmother who said no to something important. "Sure, we can do that." "Thank you." Melissa actually hugged me. First time in years. "This is really important to me." We set a date. 6 weeks away. Melissa would handle invitations and decorations. I'd handle food and set up logistics. Over the next few weeks, Melissa came by several times to plan. She was different, almost friendly, asking my opinion on things, thanking me for helping. "I know we haven't always been close," she said one afternoon, "but I really appreciate you doing this. It means a lot. Of course, I'm happy to help." Maybe, I thought, we were finally connecting. Maybe the engagement had softened her. Maybe we could finally have a relationship. I was wrong. The party was on a Saturday. I spent the entire day preparing, set up tables in the backyard, arranged flowers, prepared food, made sure everything was perfect. Melissa arrived at 4 p.m. The party started at 6 p.m. She inspected everything. "It looks beautiful," she said. "Thank you, Laura." Laura. She called me Laura, not stepmom or anything affectionate. But still, it felt like progress. Guests started arriving at 6 p.m. Melissa and Trevor greeted everyone. David played proud father. I stayed in the background, making sure food was out, drinks were filled. Everything ran smoothly. By 7 p.m., everyone was there. 50 people in our backyard, laughing, drinking, celebrating. At 7:30 p.m., Melissa stood up to make a speech, thanking everyone for coming, talking about Trevor, about their love, about the wedding plans. Then she turned to the gift table. "Trevor and I are so grateful for all the wonderful gifts. Let me just check." She stopped, stared at the table. Her face changed. "What the hell?" Everyone turned to look. I couldn't see what she was seeing. I was too far away. "Who did this?" Melissa's voice was shaking. "Who destroyed our gifts?" I moved closer, looked at the gift table. Several boxes were crushed, ripped open, cards scattered. It looked like someone had deliberately damaged them. "Oh my God," I said. "What happened?" Melissa turned to me. Her expression was pure rage. You did this." "What? No, You've never wanted me to be happy. You've always resented me. And now you sabotage my engagement party?" "Melissa, I didn't. Everyone saw you hovering around the gift table earlier. You did this. You destroyed my gifts." I felt the eyes of 50 people on me, staring, judging. I was arranging flowers near the table. I didn't touch any gifts. I would never. "Liar! You're a jealous, bitter woman who can't stand that I'm getting married and happy." David stepped forward. "Melissa, calm down. I'm sure there's an explanation. The explanation is that she did this." Melissa was crying now. "And I want her arrested. I'm calling the police." "Melissa, please," I started. "No, you've ruined my party, destroyed property. I want you prosecuted." She pulled out her phone, actually called 911. "I need to report a crime. Someone deliberately destroyed property at my party. Yes, I know who did it. My stepmother." I stood there, frozen. This couldn't be happening. This had to be a nightmare. But it wasn't. Melissa filed a police report that night, claimed I'd deliberately destroyed her engagement gifts, cited several witnesses who'd supposedly seen me near the gift table. The party ended early. Guests left uncomfortable. David tried to calm Melissa down. She refused to listen. "Either you support me in pressing charges or I'm done with you too, Dad." David looked at me, looked at his daughter. "Melissa, I can't support pressing charges against my wife for something she didn't do." "Then you've chosen her over me. Again, just like always." She left with Trevor. Didn't speak to David for 3 days. But she didn't drop the charges. Instead, she doubled down. If you've ever been falsely accused of something, had your character destroyed, your innocence questioned, your life upended by a lie, you know this fear, this helplessness. Share your experience in the comments. And if these stories of false accusations and justice resonate with you, please subscribe to Lindsay's Stories. The police showed up at my door 3 days later, early morning, treated me like a criminal. At the station, they questioned me for 2 hours. "Did you touch the gifts?" "No. Witnesses say they saw you near the gift table multiple times." "I was arranging flowers nearby. I never touched any gifts." "Your stepdaughter claims you've always been hostile to her, that you resented her relationship with her father." "That's not true. We're not close, but I've never been hostile." "She says you've made comments about not wanting to host this party, about it being too much work." "I never said that. I willingly agreed to host." They didn't believe me, or they didn't care. They charged me with criminal mischief and destruction of property, misdemeanor charges, but still criminal. still on my record, still requiring a lawyer, still meaning a potential trial. I called David from the station. They're charging me. What? This is insane. I need a lawyer. I need help. I'm calling someone now. Hang on. David hired a lawyer. Cost $5,000 just for the retainer. The lawyer reviewed the case. This is weak, he said. They have no physical evidence. Just witness statements that you were near the gift table. That's not proof you damaged anything. So they'll drop the charges? Probably not. The complainant is pushing hard. They'll likely take it to court and let a judge decide. A judge? A trial? Most likely, unless your stepdaughter withdraws the complaint. She wouldn't. She was determined to destroy me. The story got out. Small town, big scandal. Local realtor charged with sabotaging stepdaughter's party. My reputation tanked. Clients canceled contracts. Colleagues avoided me. People whispered when I walked by. David stood by me. This is ridiculous. Everyone who knows you wouldn't do this. But not everyone knew me. And those who didn't? They assumed I was guilty. Melissa doubled down publicly, posted on social media about how her evil stepmother had ruined her engagement party, how I'd always been jealous of her, how I couldn't stand her happiness. Hundreds of comments supporting her. I'm so sorry this happened. Your stepmother sounds awful. I hope she goes to jail. Nobody asked for my side. Nobody questioned whether Melissa might be lying. They just believed her. Trevor, her fiancé, was more measured. I want to believe Laura didn't do this. But the evidence— What evidence? David demanded. There is no evidence. Melissa says Melissa is lying, or she's wrong, but she's not telling the truth. I don't know what to believe. That should have been a red flag. Trevor doubting his fiancé's certainty. But at the time, we were too focused on fighting the charges to notice. My court date was set. 6 weeks away. 6 weeks of waiting, of stress, of watching my life fall apart. And then, 3 weeks before the trial, something happened. Trevor called David. We need to talk. All of us, including Laura. We met at a coffee shop, neutral ground. Trevor looked uncomfortable. I found something, he said. Something that changes everything. What? David asked. Trevor pulled out his phone, showed us a video. I've been going through photos and videos from the party, for wedding memories, and I found this. He played the video. Someone had filmed the gift table from across the yard. You could see the table clearly. The timestamp showed 7:15 p.m., 15 minutes before Melissa's speech. And on the video, you could see someone approaching the gift table. Not me. Melissa's friend, Jenna. Jenna looked around, then deliberately pushed several gifts off the table, stepped on them, kicked them, damaged them. Then she walked away, casual, like nothing happened. I stared at the screen. Jenna did it, not me. I confronted Jenna, Trevor said. She admitted it, said Melissa asked her to. The room went silent. What? David's voice was barely a whisper. Melissa planned this. She asked Jenna to damage the gifts, then blamed Laura. She wanted Laura arrested, wanted her life destroyed. But why? I couldn't comprehend it. Why would she do that? I asked her that. She said she wanted you gone, out of her father's life. She thought if you had a criminal record, were humiliated publicly, you'd leave, and her dad would be free from you. I felt sick. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't Melissa being wrong. This was a deliberate, planned attack, a false accusation designed to destroy me. I broke up with her, Trevor said quietly. Called off the engagement. I can't marry someone who would do this. Does she know you're telling us? David asked. No, but I'm giving this video to your lawyer, and to the police. Melissa needs to face consequences for what she did. We took the video to my lawyer immediately. He took it to the prosecutor. The charges against me were dropped within 24 hours. But that wasn't the end. That was just the beginning of Melissa's reckoning. Because false accusations? They have consequences. Legal consequences. Professional consequences. Personal consequences. And Melissa was about to learn that the hard way. The prosecutor was furious. Your stepdaughter deliberately framed you, filed a false police report, wasted law enforcement resources. That's a crime. Are you pressing charges against her? We're considering it. With the video evidence and Jenna's statement, We have a strong case. They did press charges. Melissa was arrested for filing a false police report, booked, fingerprinted, put in a cell, just like I'd been. But unlike my charges, hers stuck. The evidence was clear. She'd orchestrated the whole thing. Her lawyer tried to negotiate. She's young. She made a mistake. Can we do community service? She deliberately framed someone for a crime, wasted significant law enforcement resources. We're not offering a deal. Melissa was convicted, given probation, required to do 200 hours of community service, and pay restitution, covering my legal fees, which totaled $15,000 by the end. But the legal consequences were just the beginning. Trevor had already broken off the engagement, but the story got out. Local woman fakes crime, frames stepmother, made the news. Melissa's employer found out. She was fired. We can't have someone convicted of filing false reports working in client relations. Her friends distanced themselves. Nobody wanted to be associated with someone who'd lie so maliciously. Her grandparents, Rachel's parents, who'd always supported her, were horrified. How could you do this? To Laura? To your father? I just wanted... Melissa couldn't even explain it. Couldn't justify what she'd done. And David? David was broken. My daughter tried to have my wife arrested, tried to destroy her. Over what? Jealousy? Resentment? I don't even understand. I'm so sorry, I said. You have nothing to apologize for. Melissa does. And I don't know if I can forgive this. Melissa tried to apologize, called David crying. Dad, I'm so sorry. I messed up. I was wrong. You didn't mess up. You deliberately framed Laura. You lied to police. You tried to have her convicted of a crime. That's not a mess up. That's calculated cruelty. I know. But I'm sorry. Please, Dad, don't cut me out of your life. I need time. A lot of time. I can't look at you right now without being disgusted. He didn't speak to her for 3 months. When he finally did, it was brief, formal. The warmth was gone. I don't know if we can fix this, he told her. I don't know if I want to. Melissa lost everything. Her fiancé, her job, her relationship with her father, her reputation, all because she thought she could destroy me without consequences. And me? I rebuilt. Slowly. My legal record was cleared. My reputation recovered. Clients came back. Life returned to normal. But something had changed. I was no longer the accommodating stepmother trying to earn Melissa's approval. I was done with that. 6 months after the trial, Melissa called me. Laura, can we talk? About what? I want to apologize, really apologize. Not just say I'm sorry, but explain and make amends. I agreed to meet. Coffee shop. Neutral ground. Melissa looked terrible, tired, defeated, lost. I don't expect you to forgive me, she started. But I need you to understand why I did it. I'm listening. I've resented you since you married my dad. Not because you were cruel or mean, but because you existed. Because my mom was gone and you were there. And it felt like betrayal to accept you. Like I was forgetting Mom. I never asked you to forget her. I know. But I felt like accepting you meant choosing you over her. So I kept you at distance. Made sure you knew you weren't my mom. Weren't really family. And the party? I wanted you gone. Wanted Dad to myself again. So I planned it. Asked Jenna to damage the gifts. Blamed you. Thought you'd be so humiliated you'd leave. That Dad would see you as a problem and divorce you. That's sociopathic, Melissa. I know. And I'm in therapy now. Working through it. Understanding how wrong I was. How much damage I caused. You destroyed my reputation. Cost me thousands in legal fees. Put me through months of stress. Almost gave me a criminal record. I know. And I'm paying you back. The restitution. It'll take me years, but I'm paying every penny. Money doesn't fix what you did. I know. Nothing fixes it. But I'm trying to take responsibility. To acknowledge how wrong I was. To become better. I looked at her. This young woman who'd hated me for 10 years. Who'd tried to destroy me. Who'd failed and lost everything. I don't forgive you, I said. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But I acknowledge that you're trying, and that matters. Thank you. That's more than I deserve. Yes, it is. We didn't become close after that conversation, but we found a way to coexist. Melissa rebuilt her life slowly, got a new job, started dating someone new, worked on her relationship with David. David and I, we're stronger than ever. The experience showed me he'd stand by me, support me, defend me, that when it mattered, he chose me. And Melissa learned that false accusations have consequences, that you can't destroy someone's life without destroying your own. That karma is real and it's brutal. My name is Laura Anderson. I'm 48 years old. My stepdaughter had me arrested for sabotaging her party. She thought she'd ruin my life. Instead, she ruined her own, lost her fiancé, her job, her reputation, her relationship with her father, all because a friend filmed the truth, all because her lies caught up with her. She didn't expect any of that. Thought she'd get away with it. Thought I'd be the one suffering. But justice came, swift and complete, and she's still paying for what she did. Share this if you've ever been falsely accused. Comment if you've seen karma catch up to someone who lied. Subscribe to Lindsay Stories for more stories of false accusations and consequences. She tried to destroy me. She destroyed herself instead. That's everything. What I haven't fully explained yet is what those months between the arrest and the truth coming out were actually like. The daily nightmare of living under false accusations. The slow destruction of everything I'd built. The morning after my arrest, I woke up to find my name trending on local social media. Someone had posted about it. Local realtor Laura Anderson arrested for sabotaging stepdaughter's engagement party. The comments were brutal. People I'd never met were calling me jealous, bitter, evil, saying I should go to prison, that stepmothers like me were the worst. Nobody knew me. Nobody knew the real story, but they'd already decided I was guilty. My phone started ringing, clients calling to cancel listings. I'm sorry, Laura, but with this legal situation, we need to go with someone else. But I'm innocent. This is a misunderstanding. I'm sure it is. But until it's resolved, we're not comfortable working with you. 3 clients canceled that first day, 5 more over the next week. My income dropped by 60%. David tried to support me. We'll get through this. The truth will come out. When? How? Nobody believes me. Everyone's taking Melissa's side. Because they don't know her like I do. They don't know she's capable of this. Did you know she was capable of this? He was quiet. No, I didn't think she'd go this far. My business partner suggested I take a leave of absence. Just until this is resolved. The firm is getting negative attention because of your case. I'm being pushed out. It's temporary. Once you're cleared, you can come back. But would I be cleared? The evidence was circumstantial. Witnesses had seen me near the gift table. That was enough to charge me. Would it be enough to convict me? My lawyer was cautiously optimistic. Circumstantial evidence cases are hard to prove beyond reasonable doubt. But juries are unpredictable, especially when the victim is sympathetic. The victim is lying. We know that. The jury won't. They'll see a young bride whose engagement party was ruined. They'll see her stepmother accused of doing it. They'll make assumptions. So I could actually be convicted. It's possible. I'll do everything I can to prevent that. But yes, it's possible. I started having panic attacks. Waking up at 3 a.m. unable to breathe, imagining prison, imagining a criminal record, imagining my life completely destroyed. David held me during those attacks. You're not going to prison. I won't let that happen. You can't stop it. If the jury believes her, they won't. Because you're innocent. And somehow we're going to prove it. But how? We had no evidence. Just my word against Melissa's. And she had witnesses. People who'd seen me near the gift table. Never mind that I'd been arranging flowers. Never mind that dozens of people had been near that table throughout the party. I was the one charged. 2 weeks after my arrest, I ran into Melissa at the grocery store. She saw me and smirked. Actually smirked, like she was enjoying my suffering. Laura, how are you holding up? You know how I'm holding up. You're doing this to me. I'm not doing anything. I'm just telling the truth about what you did. I didn't do anything, Melissa. You know that. Do I? Because the police seem to think you did. The witnesses seem to think you did. Pretty much everyone thinks you did. This is what you wanted, isn't it? To destroy me. I wanted justice for my ruined party. If that destroys you, that's not my fault. I wanted to scream at her, to shake her, to make her admit the truth, but I couldn't. Any confrontation could be used against me, proof of my hostile nature, evidence of my guilt. So I walked away, left her standing there with her smirk, went to my car and cried. David found Melissa's behavior increasingly disturbing. She's enjoying this. You're suffering. That's not normal. She's always resented me. Maybe she sees this as payback for 10 years of having to tolerate me. But to go this far? To lie to police? To risk you going to prison? That's sociopathic. Maybe it is. But what can we do about it? I don't know. But there has to be something. Some way to prove your innocence. We hired a private investigator. Cost another $3,000. He interviewed party guests, reviewed timelines, looked for any evidence that could help. He found nothing conclusive. Multiple people had been near the gift table throughout the evening. At least a dozen people could have damaged the gifts. But I was the only one charged. Why me? I asked the investigator. Why am I the only suspect? Because Melissa accused you specifically, said she saw you do it. That's enough for charges. Without other evidence, police won't investigate other suspects. So unless we can prove someone else did it, I'm stuck. Essentially, yes. 3 weeks before trial, my lawyer suggested a plea deal. The prosecutor offered a deal. Plead guilty to a lesser charge. Reckless conduct. You'd get probation, no jail time, and pay restitution for the damaged gifts. Absolutely not. I'm not pleading guilty to something I didn't do. I understand. But you need to consider the risks. If you go to trial and lose, if I plead guilty, I have a criminal record. Forever. I lose my real estate license. My career is over. My reputation is destroyed permanently. I can't accept that. Even if going to trial means risking jail time? Even then, I won't plead guilty to something I didn't do. I won't let Melissa win by forcing me to lie. David supported my decision. If you plead guilty, she gets what she wants. She destroys you and faces no consequences. We fight this. But fighting meant preparing for trial, meant deposing witnesses, meant spending hours with lawyers, meant living in constant stress. I lost 15 pounds, couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, spent every moment either working with lawyers or spiraling into panic. My sister visited from out of state. Laura, you look terrible. I'm being prosecuted for a crime I didn't commit. How am I supposed to look? I know. But you can't let this destroy your health. It's already destroying everything else. Why not my health too? Because you need to be strong. To fight this. If you break down, Melissa wins. Melissa's already winning. She's out there living her life, planning her wedding, while I'm facing criminal charges. But you're innocent. That has to count for something. In a perfect world, it would. But the world isn't perfect. And sometimes innocent people get convicted. You're not going to be convicted. I know you're not. How do you know? Because the truth always comes out. Eventually. Somehow. I wanted to believe her, but I'd lost faith in justice, in fairness, in the idea that being innocent meant anything. And then, 3 weeks before trial, Trevor called. I didn't want to meet with him, didn't want to face my stepdaughter's fiancé, but David convinced me. Hear what he has to say. When Trevor showed us the video, when I saw Jenna deliberately damaging those gifts, I felt like I could breathe for the first time in 2 months. This proves it, I said. This proves I didn't do it. It proves someone else did it, my lawyer corrected. We still need to connect it to Melissa. Need Jenna to admit Melissa asked her to do this. Trevor had already gotten that admission. Jenna felt guilty, said Melissa had convinced her it was just a prank, that they'd blame you, but no one would actually press charges. When Melissa actually had you arrested, Jenna panicked. Why did Melissa want to do this? Jenna said Melissa wanted you gone, out of her dad's life, thought if you had a criminal record were publicly humiliated, you'd leave David, and if David defended you, Melissa would cut him off until he came to his senses and left you. The premeditation of it, the calculation, the willingness to destroy someone's life for her own agenda. It was chilling. I need to show this to the prosecutor immediately, my lawyer said. This changes everything. He was right. Within 24 hours, the charges against me were dropped. The prosecutor was furious at having been manipulated, started preparing charges against Melissa immediately. When the charges were dropped, when I was officially cleared, I felt Numb. Not relieved. Not happy. Just numb. 2 months of hell. 2 months of watching my life collapse. 2 months of panic and stress and fear. And it was over just like that. Charges dropped. Case closed. But the damage was done. My reputation was shredded. My business was in ruins. My mental health was destroyed. And while I was legally cleared, the court of public opinion hadn't yet caught up. People still whispered. Still looked at me strangely. Still weren't sure what to believe. Until Melissa was arrested. That changed everything. Local woman arrested for false police report. Framed stepmother for party sabotage. Suddenly, the narrative flipped. I wasn't the jealous stepmother anymore. I was the victim. The woman who'd been maliciously targeted. The innocent person who'd almost been convicted because of someone else's lies. The same people who'd condemned me weeks earlier were now apologizing. I'm so sorry I believed those rumors. I should have known you wouldn't do something like that. Melissa should go to prison for what she did to you. Their support felt hollow. Where were they when I needed it? When I was being accused? When my life was falling apart? But I accepted their apologies. Because what else could I do? My business partner called. Laura, we'd love to have you back. Whenever you're ready. Really? 2 months ago you asked me to leave. We were wrong. We should have stood by you. We're sorry. I didn't go back. Found a different firm that hadn't abandoned me. Started rebuilding my client base slowly. Some clients came back. Others were too embarrassed by their earlier abandonment. New clients trickled in. People who admired how I'd handled the situation, how I'd fought for my innocence. Within 6 months, my business was stronger than before. Because I'd survived something that should have destroyed me. And people respected that. But Melissa? Melissa's life was in free fall. Trevor didn't just break up with her. He went public about why. I can't marry someone who would frame an innocent person for a crime. What Melissa did was unforgivable. His family supported him. They'd liked me. Been horrified by the accusations. Were relieved when the truth came out. Melissa's friends distanced themselves. Not all of them, but most. Because who wants to be associated with someone convicted of filing false police reports? Someone who'd try to send someone to prison over petty resentment? Her employer fired her within a week of her conviction. We have a zero-tolerance policy for dishonest behavior. She tried to find another marketing job, but her conviction came up in background checks. No one would hire her. She ended up working retail, minimum wage, a far cry from her previous career trajectory. Her grandparents, Rachel's parents, were devastated. How could you do this? Your mother would be ashamed. That comment, more than anything, broke Melissa. Her mother, the woman she'd been trying to honor by rejecting me, would be ashamed of what she'd done. She spiraled. Depression, anxiety, guilt. Spent months in therapy trying to understand why she'd done something so destructive. And David? David was heartbroken, not just because of what Melissa had done to me, but because of what it revealed about her character. I thought I knew my daughter, he said one night. Thought she was good, kind, moral. But she tried to send you to prison, over jealousy, over resentment. How did I raise someone capable of that? You didn't raise her alone. Rachel was her primary influence until 14, and after Rachel died, her grandparents had her a lot. You did your best. My best created someone who would destroy an innocent person's life. Melissa created that. Not you. She made her choices. You can't take responsibility for them. But he struggled with that guilt. Struggled with how to have a relationship with a daughter who'd done something so unforgivable. When Melissa reached out 3 months after her conviction, David was torn. Do I talk to her? Do I shut her out? What do I do? That's up to you. She's your daughter. Whatever you decide, I'll support. What do you want me to do? I want you to do what's right for you, not for me. Not for Melissa. For you. He decided to meet with her. Talk. Try to understand. But he made it clear. What you did was unforgivable. I don't know if we can fix this, but I'm willing to listen. Melissa's apology to David was a lot like her apology to me, full of explanations, justifications, attempts to make him understand why she'd done it. I wanted you to myself, wanted Laura gone, thought if she had a criminal record, you'd leave her, or she'd leave you, and it would be just us again. Like before. Before what? Before I remarried? Melissa, I was lonely before Laura. Sad, stuck in grief. Laura made me happy again. And you wanted to destroy that? I know. I know it was wrong. I wasn't thinking clearly. You were thinking very clearly. You planned this. Enlisted Jenna. Set Laura up. Filed a police report. That's not unclear thinking. That's calculated cruelty. Melissa couldn't argue. She'd been caught. Her lies exposed. Her cruelty undeniable. 6 months after her conviction, Melissa's life looked nothing like it had before. No fiancé, no career, no friends, strained relationship with her father, reputation destroyed, all because she'd tried to destroy me, and failed, and faced consequences she never expected. But here's what she really didn't expect. I survived. Not just survived, thrived, got stronger, built a better business, deepened my marriage, found peace. While she lost everything, I gained. That wasn't the plan. I was supposed to be the one suffering, the one destroyed, the one who disappeared. Instead, I'm here, strong, successful, respected, and she's paying restitution for the $15,000 she cost me, paying it slowly, painfully, every month for years. A constant reminder of what she did, what she lost, what she destroyed. Not me, but herself. My name is Laura Anderson. I'm 48 years old. My stepdaughter had me arrested for sabotaging her party. She thought she'd destroy me. Instead, she destroyed herself, lost her fiancé, her job, her reputation, her relationship with her father, her future. All because one person filmed the truth. All because her lies were exposed. All because false accusations have consequences. She didn't expect that. Thought she'd get away with it. Thought she was clever enough to frame me and face no repercussions. She was wrong, and she'll be paying for that mistake for years. Share this if you've ever been falsely accused. Comment if you've watched someone's lies catch up to them. Subscribe to Lindsay Stories for more stories of false accusations and karma. She tried to put me in prison. She ended up destroying herself instead. That's everything. What I want to talk about now, what needs to be understood about false accusations, is the invisible damage they cause. The kind that doesn't show up in legal documents or court transcripts but lives in your body and mind forever. Even after I was cleared, even after Melissa was convicted, even after my reputation was restored, I still jumped when someone knocked on the door, still had panic attacks when I saw police cars, still woke up at 3 a.m. in cold sweats, dreaming I was in that cell again. PTSD, my therapist called it. Post-traumatic stress disorder from being falsely accused and arrested. It's common in people who've experienced what you went through, she said. The trauma of being treated like a criminal when you're innocent, of having your word doubted, of facing the possibility of prison for something you didn't do. That creates lasting psychological damage. But I was cleared. Melissa was convicted. It's over. Legally, yes. Psychologically, it's just beginning. Your brain went through months of high alert, fight or flight, constant threat. That doesn't just disappear because the charges were dropped. She was right. 6 months after being cleared, I was still having nightmares, still avoiding situations that reminded me of the arrest, still struggling with trust. How do I know people believe I'm innocent? I asked David one night. How do I know they're not just being polite? Because the truth came out. Because Melissa was convicted. Because everyone knows you were framed. But what if they think I got lucky? That the video saved me, but maybe I still did it? That's the trauma talking. The rational part of you knows people believe you're innocent. The rational part of me knows a lot of things. But the traumatized part is louder. Therapy helped. Slowly, painfully, processing what had happened. Understanding that my reactions were normal. Learning to trust again. To feel safe again. To believe I wasn't going to be arrested every time someone knocked on the door. But it took time. More time than I expected. More time than anyone who hasn't been through this would understand. A year after my arrest, I attended a support group for people who'd been falsely accused. 8 people, all with similar stories, all carrying similar trauma. One man had been accused of theft by a business partner, spent 6 months fighting charges before evidence proved he'd been framed. Still couldn't get a job 2 years later because employers saw the arrest record and didn't care that charges were dropped. One woman had been accused of child abuse by her ex-husband during a custody battle. Spent a year fighting. Lost custody temporarily. Even after being cleared, struggled to get her kids back because the system moves slowly. Still had supervised visitation 3 years later. Their stories made mine feel almost lucky. At least my charges were dropped quickly. At least I didn't lose my career permanently. At least I didn't lose my children. But we all shared the same core trauma. Having your innocence questioned. Your word doubted. Your life held hostage by someone else's lies. The worst part, the child abuse woman said, is how easy it was for him to destroy me. One phone call, one false report, and my entire life exploded, while he faced no consequences until years later. Everyone nodded. We all understood how simple it is to accuse, how complicated it is to defend, how the burden of proof falls on the accused, even though we're supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. People say the system works, the theft man said, because eventually we were cleared. But the system destroyed us first, and some of that destruction is permanent. More nodding, because he was right. Being cleared doesn't undo the arrest, the mugshot, the fingerprints, the humiliation, the months of stress, the financial devastation, the broken relationships, the shattered sense of safety. I left that group feeling less alone, but also more aware of how broken the system is, how vulnerable we all are to false accusations, how little protection there is against someone who wants to destroy you with lies. 18 months after my arrest, Melissa completed her community service. 200 hours of picking up trash on highways, sorting donations at a charity, cleaning public spaces. She posted about it on social media, not complaining, not making excuses, just documenting her completion, almost like she was proud of herself for finishing. The comments were brutal. You should be in prison. Community service isn't enough for what you did. You tried to ruin someone's life. You deserve worse. I didn't comment, didn't engage, but I watched her try to rebuild a life from the ruins she'd created. She'd found a boyfriend, someone who knew about her conviction but was willing to give her a chance. Everyone deserves redemption, he posted with a photo of them. Melissa made a terrible mistake, but she's working to be better. Some people supported that message. Everyone deserves a second chance. She's paying for what she did. Let her move on. Others were less forgiving. She tried to send someone to prison. That's not a mistake. That's malicious. Would you feel the same if she'd framed you? I fell somewhere in the middle. Melissa did deserve a chance to rebuild, but she also needed to fully understand the magnitude of what she'd done, and I wasn't sure she did. 2 years after my arrest, Melissa asked to meet with me again, not just to apologize, she'd done that, but to make amends beyond just words. We met at the same coffee shop as before. She looked different, older, more serious. The spoiled young woman who'd smirked at me in the grocery store was gone, replaced by someone who'd suffered real consequences. I know my apology isn't enough, she said. I know paying restitution isn't enough. I'm not asking you to forgive me. I'm asking what I can do to make this even slightly right. There's nothing you can do. The damage is done. I live with it every day. I know. I'm in therapy too, learning about the trauma false accusation victims experience, understanding what I put you through, and I feel sick about it. You should. I want to do something. Speak at schools about false accusations, work with victim advocacy groups, something to turn this horrible thing I did into something that might help others. I studied her face, looking for manipulation, for calculation, for any sign this was performance. I didn't see it. I saw genuine remorse, genuine desire to make amends, genuine understanding of what she'd done. If you're serious about that, I know some organizations that work with false accusation victims. They could use speakers, people who've been on both sides, who understand the damage and can warn others. Would you be willing to introduce me? Maybe. But Melissa, understand something. If you do this, you have to be completely honest. About what you did, why you did it, what the consequences were for me and for you. No sugarcoating. No making yourself seem better than you were. Complete honesty. I can do that. Can you? Can you stand in front of people and say, I deliberately framed my innocent stepmother for a crime because I was jealous and wanted her out of my father's life? Can you admit that level of malice? She looked down. It's hard. Good. It should be hard. Because what you did was hard on me. If you can't be uncomfortable talking about it, you haven't learned enough. You're right. I can be honest. Completely honest. Even when it's uncomfortable. I introduced her to a victim advocacy organization. They were skeptical at first. But after meeting with Melissa, hearing her full confession, understanding her commitment to honesty, they agreed to let her speak. Her first speaking event was at a high school, talking to teenagers about consequences, about how one terrible decision can destroy lives, including your own. I attended, sat in the back, watched her tell her story. She didn't hold back, detailed the planning, the manipulation, the lies, the false police report, my arrest, the months of fighting charges, the damage to my reputation and business, her conviction, the loss of everything she valued, the ongoing consequences. I thought I was clever, she told the students. I thought I could frame someone and get away with it. And for 2 months, I did. I watched my stepmother suffer, watched her life fall apart, and I felt satisfied, like I was winning. The students were silent, riveted. But then the truth came out. A video I didn't know existed, a friend who felt guilty and confessed. And suddenly, I was the criminal. Everything I'd tried to do to Laura happened to me instead. But worse, because I actually was guilty. She explained the conviction, the probation, the community service, the restitution, the loss of her fiancé, her job, her friends, the destruction of her reputation, the complete collapse of her life. And that's just the external consequences, she continued. Internally, I have to live with what I did, with knowing I tried to send an innocent person to prison, that I was willing to destroy someone's life over petty resentment, that I'm that person. That capacity for cruelty lives inside me, and I have to work every day to make sure I never act on it again. After the presentation, several students approached her with questions. One girl asked, "Do you think Laura will ever forgive you?" Melissa looked at me in the back of the room. I don't know. She's been incredibly gracious. More gracious than I deserve. But forgiveness isn't something you can demand or earn. It's a gift the wronged person gives if and when they're ready. I'm not entitled to it. I can only work to become worthy of it. And maybe that will be enough. I didn't approach her after the presentation, but I sent her a text later. "You did well today. Keep doing this. It matters." She replied immediately, "Thank you. That means everything." 3 years after my arrest. 3 years of slowly rebuilding my life, my business, my sense of safety. I had a realization. Melissa destroying her own life, trying to destroy mine? That was justice. But it wasn't closure. Closure would mean letting go of the anger, the resentment, the trauma, not forgetting what happened, but releasing its power over me. I talked to my therapist about it. I don't know how to let go. Part of me feels like holding on to this anger is justified. She tried to ruin me. Why shouldn't I hate her forever? You can hate her forever if you want. But who does that hurt more? Her or you? Probably me. But it feels like letting her off the hook. Letting go isn't about her. It's about you. About freeing yourself from carrying this weight. She'll carry her own weight. Her guilt, her consequences, her destroyed life. You don't have to carry it for her. So I just forgive her after everything. Forgiveness isn't a light switch. It's not something you decide to do once and it's done. It's a process. A daily choice to release resentment. To stop letting what she did define your present. To reclaim your life completely. That sounds hard. It is. Harder than holding on to anger, but ultimately more freeing. I started working on forgiveness. Not because Melissa deserved it, but because I deserved peace. Real peace. Not the kind that depends on her suffering, the kind that exists regardless of what happens to her. It was slow. Some days I made progress. Other days I slid backward into rage. But gradually, month by month, the weight lifted. 4 years after my arrest, Melissa got married. To the boyfriend who'd stood by her through everything. Small wedding. Immediate family only. No big celebration. David attended. I didn't. Not because I was angry, but because it wasn't my place. This was Melissa's day with her father. They'd rebuilt their relationship slowly, carefully. I didn't need to insert myself into that, but I sent a gift, a nice one, with a card that said, "Wishing you happiness in this new chapter." Melissa called me crying. "You sent a gift. After everything I did, how can you be so kind? Because you're trying to be better, and that deserves acknowledgement. I don't deserve your kindness. Maybe not, but I'm not giving it because you deserve it. I'm giving it because I choose to, because holding on to bitterness was destroying me more than it was affecting you. So I'm letting go, not forgetting, but letting go. I don't know what to say. Say thank you, and keep being better. Keep speaking to groups. Keep warning people about false accusations. Turn your mistake into something meaningful. I will. I promise I will." David told me later that Melissa cried when she opened my gift, that she'd told him, "I destroyed Laura's life, and she sent me a wedding gift. I don't understand that level of grace." "That's who Laura is," David had told her. "That's who you tried to destroy, and failed, because she's stronger than both of us realized." 5 years after my arrest, 5 years of healing, rebuilding, growing, I spoke at a victim advocacy event, sharing my story publicly for the first time. Melissa was in the audience. I hadn't known she'd be there, but when I saw her, I nodded, acknowledged her presence, didn't let it throw me. I told my story, the arrest, the charges, the months of stress, the business collapsing, the panic attacks, the feeling of helplessness, the trauma that lasted long after being cleared. "Being falsely accused doesn't end when the charges are dropped," I said. "It lives in your body, your mind, your relationships. You learn that people's faith in you is conditional, that your innocence can be questioned, that someone else's lies can destroy your life. That knowledge changes you permanently." I talked about the long road to recovery, the therapy, the support groups, the slow rebuilding of trust, the gradual return to feeling safe. "Some people ask if I've forgiven the person who did this to me," I said, looking at Melissa. "The answer is complicated. I've forgiven in the sense that I've released my rage. I've stopped letting what she did control my present, but I haven't forgotten. The trauma she caused is part of me now, and that's something I live with every day." After the presentation, Melissa approached me. "Thank you for telling your story, for being honest about the lasting damage. I needed to hear that, to understand that even though you're gracious to me, what I did still affects you, that it's not over just because I apologized. No, it's not over. It might never be completely over, but I'm learning to live with it, to be stronger because of it, to use my experience to help others, just like you are. We're doing the same work from different sides. Yes, and maybe that's the best outcome we could hope for. Both of us using this terrible thing to prevent it happening to others. I'd like that, to work together on this, if you're open to it." I thought about it. A year ago, I'd have said no. 6 months ago, maybe. But now, I'm open to it. Cautiously, but open. We started collaborating, speaking together at events. Me representing the falsely accused, her representing the accuser who'd faced consequences. Together showing the full picture of what false accusations do to everyone involved. It was powerful. Audiences responded to our combined perspective, to seeing both sides, to understanding that false accusations don't just hurt the accused, they hurt the accuser too when truth emerges. They hurt families, communities, the entire justice system. And slowly, working together on something meaningful, Melissa and I developed something I never thought possible. Not friendship, but mutual respect, understanding, a working relationship built on shared purpose. 6 years after my arrest, I can say with honesty, I'm at peace. Not because Melissa was punished, not because she lost everything, but because I chose peace, chose forgiveness, chose to transform trauma into purpose. Melissa is still paying restitution, still marked by her conviction, still facing consequences years later. But she's also building a meaningful life, using her experience to warn others, to prevent them from making her mistakes. Is that justice? I don't know, but it's something. It's growth. It's redemption being earned slowly, painfully, over years of consistent effort. And me? I'm stronger than I was before this happened. more resilient, more aware of how precious innocence is, how easily it can be questioned, how important it is to stand up for those falsely accused. My business is thriving. My marriage to David is stronger than ever. My mental health, while scarred, is healing, and I'm using my experience to help others navigate the nightmare of false accusations. That's what Melissa didn't expect when she had me arrested, that I'd survive, that I'd thrive, that I'd take her attempt to destroy me and transform it into strength, into purpose, into something meaningful. She thought she'd ruin me. Instead, she made me powerful. And when her lies caught up with her, when she faced consequences she never imagined, she had a choice: stay bitter and broken, or grow from it. She chose growth, and I chose peace. And somehow, impossibly, we're both better people than we were 6 years ago. Not friends, not family, but two people who survived the same trauma from different sides and are working to prevent others from experiencing it. That's not the ending I expected, but it's the one we got. And I'm grateful for it. My name is Laura Anderson. I'm 54 years old now. 6 years ago, my stepdaughter had me arrested for sabotaging her party. She destroyed her own life trying to destroy mine, lost everything, faced consequences she never expected. But she learned, grew, changed, and now we work together to prevent false accusations, to help victims, to warn potential accusers about the devastation they'll cause, to others and to themselves. She didn't expect that. Didn't expect me to forgive, to move forward, to transform her malice into meaning. But I did, because that's how you win, not by holding on to rage, but by building something better from the ashes. Share this if you've been falsely accused. Comment if you've seen someone grow from their worst mistake. Subscribe to Lindsay Stories for more stories of false accusations, consequences, and unexpected redemption. She tried to destroy me. She destroyed herself, and then we both rebuilt into something neither of us expected. That's everything. Before I close this story, there are critical truths about false accusations that every person needs to understand. Truths I learned through pain. Truths that Melissa learned through consequences. Truths that might save someone else from our nightmare. The first truth: false accusations are devastatingly easy to make and incredibly hard to fight. One phone call to police. One false report. One accusation. That's all it takes to upend someone's life completely. No proof needed initially, just an accusation. The system then treats you as guilty until you can prove innocence, even though we're supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. I had to prove I didn't do it. Not Melissa proving I did. Me proving I didn't. That's backwards. That's unjust. But that's reality. And proving a negative, proving you didn't do something, is nearly impossible. How do you prove you weren't near the gift table at the exact moment of sabotage? How do you prove your intentions were innocent? How do you prove you didn't do something that happened? You can't, unless you have evidence, video, witnesses, something concrete. Without that, you're at the mercy of who the jury believes. That's terrifying. Your freedom, your reputation, your entire life, dependent on whether 12 strangers believe you or your accuser. The second truth: the system protects accusers more than the accused. Melissa faced almost no scrutiny when she made her accusation. Police didn't question her story deeply, didn't investigate alternative suspects thoroughly, didn't consider that she might be lying. They took her word, charged me, put the burden on me to prove innocence. Only after video evidence emerged, concrete, undeniable proof, did they question her credibility. And even then, prosecuting her for false reporting took time, required her friend's testimony, wasn't automatic. Meanwhile, I was arrested immediately, charged within days, my mugshot taken, my fingerprints recorded, my reputation destroyed, all based on her word alone. The system is designed to believe accusers, which makes sense in many cases, especially in crimes like sexual assault where victims are often doubted. But it also creates vulnerability to malicious false accusations. There's no perfect balance. But the current system definitely favors accusers, and people like Melissa know that, and exploit it. The third truth: even being cleared doesn't undo the damage. I was exonerated, Melissa was convicted. The truth came out. Justice was served, legally speaking. But I still lost 2 months of business, $15,000 in legal fees, countless nights of sleep, my sense of safety, my mental health, relationships with clients who never came back even after I was cleared. Justice meant Melissa faced consequences. But it didn't make me whole, didn't restore what was taken, didn't erase the trauma. People think exoneration means happy ending, case closed, life returns to normal. But it doesn't. The arrest record still exists, even if charges were dismissed. The mugshot is still out there. The experience still lives in your body. And no amount of justice for your accuser fixes that. The fourth truth: false accusers often don't face proportional consequences. Melissa was convicted, paid restitution, did community service, lost her job and her fiancé. Sounds like serious consequences, right? And they were. But compare them to what would have happened to me if she'd succeeded, if that video hadn't existed, if Jenna hadn't confessed, if I'd been convicted. I'd have a criminal record, permanently, would have lost my real estate license, my career, my ability to earn a living, possibly served jail time, been registered as a criminal for the rest of my life. Melissa's consequences, while real, were temporary. She can rebuild, find a new job eventually, move on with her life. In 10 years, most people will have forgotten about this. But if I'd been convicted, that would have followed me forever, defined me permanently, destroyed opportunities for the rest of my life. That's not proportional. What she risked doing to me was far worse than what actually happened to her. And that's true in most false accusation cases. The potential harm to the accused far exceeds the actual consequences for the accuser, even when caught. The fifth truth: forgiveness is possible, but it's not required. I chose to forgive Melissa. Eventually, after years of work, after she proved sustained change, after she dedicated herself to preventing others from making her mistakes. But I didn't have to. And anyone reading this who's been falsely accused, you don't have to forgive either. Even if your accuser apologizes, even if they face consequences, even if they change. Forgiveness is a personal choice, a gift you give yourself, not them, and it's not required for healing. Some people heal by forgiving, others heal by maintaining boundaries and never engaging with their accuser again. Both are valid, both are okay. Don't let anyone tell you that you have to forgive to move forward. You don't. You just have to find your own path to peace, whatever that looks like for you. Last month, Melissa and I spoke at a law enforcement training event, teaching officers how to investigate accusation cases more thoroughly, how to avoid rushing to judgment, how to protect both accusers and accused. One officer asked me, "What should we have done differently in your case?" Investigated other suspects, questioned the accuser's motives, asked basic questions like, who else had access to the gift table? And, is there any reason someone might falsely accuse this person? Those questions weren't asked until video evidence forced them. Another officer asked Melissa, "Why did you think you'd get away with it?" "Because false accusations usually work," she said bluntly. "Most cases don't have video evidence. Most rely on he said, she said. And the system typically believes the accuser. I was counting on that. And it almost worked." The officers were uncomfortable with that answer. But it was honest. And important. Because understanding how false accusers think, how they exploit system weaknesses, is crucial to preventing it. After the training, one officer approached us. "Thank you for your honesty, both of you. This is the first training I've had that actually addressed false accusations seriously. Usually we're just taught to believe accusers. Period. But this showed me it's more complicated." "It is," I said. "Supporting real victims while protecting against false accusations, that's the balance law enforcement needs to find. It's not easy, but it's necessary." "How do you two work together now? After what happened?" Melissa answered. "Laura chose grace over grudges, chose purpose over punishment. I don't deserve that, but I'm grateful for it. And I'm committed to earning it every day by preventing others from becoming like I was." The officer nodded. "That's powerful. That's real restorative justice." And it was. Not the traditional kind, where victim and offender meet once and move on, but ongoing, sustained work together to create meaning from trauma. to prevent future harm, to heal not just ourselves, but the system that failed us both. 3 weeks ago, I received an email from a woman I'd never met. Subject line: "You saved my life. Dear Laura, I attended your presentation 6 months ago about false accusations and trauma. At the time, my sister-in-law had accused me of stealing from her. I was facing charges, watching my life fall apart, considering suicide because I couldn't imagine living with a criminal record for something I didn't do. Your story gave me hope, gave me strength to keep fighting, to believe truth would emerge, to hold on. Last week, my brother found security footage proving my sister-in-law had moved the items herself. She'd framed me. The charges were dropped. She's now facing prosecution. I'm free because I held on, because your story showed me survival was possible. Thank you for sharing your trauma publicly, for turning your nightmare into hope for others. You literally saved my life. Forever grateful, Jennifer." I cried reading that email, showed it to David, to Melissa, to my therapist. "This is why we do this work," Melissa said. "This is what redemption looks like. Not erasing what I did, but preventing it happening to others, helping people survive when it does happen. You helped save her life," I told Melissa, "by being honest about what you did, by showing that false accusers get caught, that justice exists, that survival is possible." "We helped save her life," she corrected. "Together. Your survival story and my consequence story. Both were necessary." She was right. Jennifer needed both perspectives, needed to know false accusation victims survive, and needed to know false accusers face consequences. Both truths together created hope. That's what our collaboration provides. Complete perspective, real hope, practical guidance, for victims and for potential accusers who might reconsider before destroying someone's life. Yesterday, Melissa and I recorded a podcast episode about our experience, telling our complete story, from both perspectives, holding nothing back. The host asked, "Laura, do you ever regret forgiving Melissa? Wish you'd stayed angry?" "Sometimes. When the PTSD symptoms hit. When I have a panic attack because someone knocked on my door. When I remember what she put me through. In those moments, forgiveness feels too generous. But then I remember that forgiveness was never about her. It was about freeing myself, and that makes it worth it." The host turned to Melissa. "Do you think you deserve Laura's forgiveness?" "No, absolutely not. I deserve her permanent rage, her hatred, her refusal to ever speak to me again. The fact that she's given me grace instead, that she works with me, speaks with me, treats me with basic humanity, that's a gift I'll never fully comprehend or feel worthy of. So why do you accept it? Because refusing it would dishonor what she's trying to build. She's not forgiving me for my benefit. She's forgiving me for her peace, for her healing, and I support that by continuing to earn that grace through my actions, by never taking it for granted, by using it as fuel to prevent others from becoming what I was." "That's profound," the host said. "Most false accusation stories end with permanent estrangement. Yours ended with collaboration. How?" "Time," I said. "Consistent accountability from Melissa. Extensive therapy for both of us. And a shared commitment to creating meaning from trauma. We didn't plan this outcome. It evolved slowly, painfully, over years of small steps toward trust. Would you recommend this path to other false accusation victims and their accusers?" "No," we said simultaneously. Melissa continued, "This path worked for us. But every situation is different. Some victims need complete separation from their accusers to heal. Some accusers aren't capable of real change. Forcing reconciliation or collaboration can cause more harm. This has to happen organically, if it happens at all. And it requires the accuser to fully accept responsibility," I added. "Not justify, not minimize, not make excuses, complete ownership. Melissa does that. Many accusers don't. Without that foundation, collaboration is impossible and harmful." The podcast will air next month, reach potentially millions of people. Some will relate to my story, others to Melissa's. Some will be victims needing hope, others potential accusers who might reconsider. All will see that false accusations have real, lasting, devastating consequences for everyone involved. That's the legacy we're building from the worst moment of both our lives. Not pretending it didn't happen, not minimizing the harm, but transforming it into something that might prevent future harm, that might help current victims, that might stop potential accusers. It's not redemption in the traditional sense. Melissa can never fully redeem what she did. I can never fully heal from what was done to me. But we can both use our experience to help others. And that's something. That's meaningful. That matters. My name is Laura Anderson. I'm 54 years old. 6 years ago, my stepdaughter had me arrested for sabotaging her party. She thought she'd destroy me. Instead, she destroyed herself, faced consequences she never expected, lost everything she valued. But she learned, changed, dedicated herself to preventing others from making her mistakes. And somehow, impossibly, we now work together. Not as friends, not as family, but as partners in education, in prevention, in justice. She didn't expect that. Expected me to hate her forever, to refuse all contact, to celebrate her suffering. And I did, for a while. But eventually, I chose something harder, chose forgiveness, chose collaboration, chose to transform trauma into purpose. Because that's how you truly win, not by holding on to rage, not by watching your accuser suffer, but by taking the worst thing that ever happened to you and making it mean something, making it matter, making it count. Share this if you've been falsely accused and survived. Comment if you believe in earned redemption. Subscribe to Lindsay's Stories for more stories of false accusations, consequences, and unexpected transformation. She tried to put me in prison. She ended up changing both our lives, in ways neither of us expected. That's everything. This morning, 6 years and 2 months after that 6 a.m. knock on my door, I woke up without a panic attack, without fear, without the immediate terror that used to flood my body every morning. It's the small victories, the ones nobody sees, the quiet moments of healing that happen slowly, painfully, over years. I'm not the same person I was before the arrest. That version of Laura, naive enough to think innocence was protection, trusting enough to believe the system would be fair, she's gone. She died in that police station cell. The Laura who emerged is harder, wiser, more aware of how fragile safety is, how easily lives can be destroyed, how important it is to fight for truth, even when the fight seems impossible. Is that better? I don't know. But it's real. It's earned. It's mine. Melissa isn't the same person either. The entitled, manipulative young woman who thought she could frame someone without consequences. She's gone too. What emerged is someone who understands the weight of her choices, who lives with that weight every day, who tries to lighten it by helping others avoid her mistakes. Is that redemption? Maybe, maybe not. But it's growth. Real, painful, sustained growth. And that counts for something. 6 years ago, Melissa tried to destroy me. Today, we're teaching at universities, speaking at law enforcement conferences, helping victims and preventing accusers, building something meaningful from shared trauma. That's not the ending either of us imagined, but it's the ending we earned, together, through years of hard work, painful honesty, and choosing purpose over punishment. She thought she'd ruin me. She ended up transforming both of us into people who matter, who help, who prevent future victims from suffering what I suffered, who save lives with our story. That's justice. Not perfect, not pretty, but real, earned, meaningful. And every day, I choose it. Choose forgiveness. Choose collaboration. Choose purpose. Because that's how you win. That's how you heal. That's how you take the worst thing that ever happened and make it mean something. 6 years later, still healing, still growing, still building, still choosing, and finally, truly, at peace. My name is Laura Anderson. My stepdaughter had me arrested. She destroyed herself trying to destroy me. And then we both rebuilt into something neither expected, something powerful, something that matters. That's everything.